The wait for Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse is finally starting to make sense, especially when you look at the ambition behind what's shaping up to be one of the most complex animated films ever made. Originally, the final chapter was supposed to hit theaters in 2024. Looking back, that was almost never going to happen. The team was basically expected to deliver a masterpiece in just 1 year, a near impossible deadline for a film this intricate now. With the release officially set for June 25th, 2027, the delay actually feels like the right move. We're talking 4 years after Across, which might seem like a long time, but the complexity here justifies it. The animation in this trilogy isn't just pretty pictures moving on a screen. We're talking about handcrafted frames, experimental comic book-inspired visuals, and a level of detail that makes every shot feel alive. Think about how K-pop Demon Hunters crushed it on Netflix and then transitioned into a strong theatrical showing. That's a similar creative energy. Sony knows that rushing would compromise the artistry, and they clearly don't want to cut corners. 4 years is the kind of schedule that gives the filmmakers the freedom to push every boundary without sacrificing quality. Phil Lord and Chris Miller have confirmed something fans have been waiting for. Beyond will get a true IMAX release. The first 2 parts were shown in IMAX theaters, but they stuck to standard widescreen. Beyond will actually take advantage of the format properly, making every frame bigger, bolder, and more immersive. Sony is betting huge on this trilogy, and it makes sense. They're giving the team the time to make the finale feel like a cinematic event, not just another superhero movie. With this level of care, it's entirely possible that Beyond could outperform Across at the box office. Plot-wise, things are already starting to take shape based on official images and early hints. The story is expected to pick up right where Across left off, with Miles landing on Earth 42 and running into another version of himself, a grittier, more hardened Miles who's basically a prowler in this reality. Naturally, they clash first before forming a reluctant partnership. Don't expect instant teamwork. This dynamic is going to be tense and competitive at first, with grudging respect gradually developing. That's exactly the kind of character-driven storytelling that has made this trilogy stand out. Looking back, the original Into the Spider-Verse didn't just raise the bar for animation, it reinvented it. The use of frame rates, comic panel aesthetics, and bold, kinetic visual storytelling changed how the entire industry thinks about animated films. Suddenly, animation wasn't just for kids or family audiences, it was stylish, daring, and cinematic. Across took that to the next level. Deeper characters, wilder action, and a multiverse that exploded with possibilities. The emotional stakes were higher, the plot twist sharper, and the ending left Miles dangling on the most intense cliffhanger imaginable. Beyond has the impossible task of tying it all together, honoring what came before while pushing even further. And the ambition here isn't just creative, it's technical too. Lord and Miller have openly called this the hardest Spider-Verse movie yet. Animation has evolved so much since the first part, and now they're demanding more detail, more emotion, and more spectacle than ever. Making a film like this is an insanely complex process. It starts with endless concept art, drafts, and rewrites. Voice recording alone is a logistical headache, juggling actors across different cities and schedules. Then you have storyboarding, animation, post-production, scoring, editing, the list goes on. We're talking about 6 unique animation styles, dozens of fully realized characters and locations. Sony has promised that Beyond will be more ambitious than the first 2 movies combined. And honestly, it has to be. The bar was set insanely high. But delays like this also make you wonder if there's more going on than just finishing the trilogy. Maybe the team is expanding the Spider-Verse even further, teasing a soft reset, or even planting seeds for new spin-offs. Gwen's story might be getting more attention, or perhaps Miles' arc doesn't actually end here. Beyond could very well be setting the stage for an entirely new era of Spider-Man stories. If this film lands the way it should, it won't just be a satisfying conclusion to a beloved trilogy, it could redefine what animated superhero movies are capable of. 4 years of painstaking work, the right IMAX treatment, and the freedom to push boundaries might just make Beyond a landmark in animation, storytelling, and multiverse chaos. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the potential payoff is enormous. Fans have waited a long time, but it looks like the wait might actually be worth it. Beyond the Spider-Verse looks set to pick up right where Across left off, with Miles trapped on Earth 42, facing a darker, grittier version of himself, the one who became the Prowler. The first moments of the film, based on the latest stills, seem like they're going to dive straight into that confrontation. And yeah, we're almost certainly getting a full-on Miles versus Prowler fight to kick things off, but don't get the wrong idea. This isn't about the Prowler joining the main Spider team. He's going to show up when it matters most, maybe in the third act or during a pivotal twist involving an alternate version of Miles' parents. And honestly, that's where the Spider-Verse gets so fun. These threads leave room for fan theories and speculations. We're expecting original Miles to eventually escape Earth 42, but how that escape shapes him is going to be fascinating. His confrontation with his alternate self is likely to challenge his very sense of belonging in the Spider-Verse, and it loops back to one of the franchise's biggest questions: canon events. Miguel insists that certain events like Miles' father dying are fixed points, but are they really? Gwen's timeline suggests otherwise. Her father should have died, but didn't, and her world didn't collapse. The multiverse clearly bends the rules sometimes, which means Miles might not have to lose his dad either. Miguel's canon may just be fear dressed up as authority. Miles' arc has always been about breaking the mold. He's an anomaly. Even when everything around him suggests a fixed path, he chooses differently. Across made it clear, Miles refuses to accept a pre-written destiny. That defiance defines him, and Beyond will explore that core idea further, showing Miles grappling with fate, family, and responsibility in ways that will test him emotionally and morally. The opening of Beyond is expected to be a high-stakes, character-driven confrontation. Earth 42 isn't just a backdrop, it's a living, breathing character in its own right, broken and dark, but still standing. The Prowler is essentially a mirror for OG Miles. He reflects what Miles could have been if things had gone differently, if he'd grown up in a world without guidance or hope. This isn't just a fight, it's an exploration of morality, motivation, and the fine line between hope and despair. The first half hour will likely dig deep into that duality, setting the emotional tone for the entire film. Miles is determined to write his own story. He's going to challenge Miguel's rules, push against the fear-mongering of the multiverse, and fight to save his dad. But the ending won't be a clean wrap-up. Someone's going to pay, and Peter is a strong candidate. The multiverse is messy, unpredictable, and ripe for twists. Peter's death might feel inevitable, but alternate versions of him open endless possibilities. Reports are saying that Beyond is going to explore several new realities we haven't seen in the first two films. It actually makes a lot of sense. If you remember the original Into the Spider-Verse, most of the story was centered around Earth 1610, the home Earth of the original Miles in Across. We've already gotten glimpses of some key locations like Nueva York and Mumbeton. Following that logic, it's safe to expect that Beyond will dive into even more realities, just like the different versions of Spider-Man we've seen before that feel like they were made to come alive in animation or live action. Insiders are already reporting that the team is looking for a native English-speaking actor to voice a secret character, which immediately sparked rumors about the long-awaited introduction of Spider-Knight, a medieval armored Spider-Man from the 15th century. He is expected to be loosely adapted from the comic's darker age concept, and his world is said to be designed with a unique visual style, drawn in dark graphite and black pencil textures. Of course, this is just one example of what we might see. Beyond is clearly hinting at a vast expansion of the multiverse, so we can expect plenty of other alternate Spider people and unique realities. What fans are probably most excited about is whether Andrew, Tobey, or Tom Holland will show up, but that seems unlikely for now. The chatter is mostly half confirmed, and while it's fun to speculate, nothing solid has come from the studio yet. Other realities, however, feel more confirmed, at least indirectly, through statements from Chris Miller. Also, keep in mind that the main villain so far is still the Spot. By the end of Across, he had grown so powerful that stopping him with raw force alone would be nearly impossible. We've seen him hop between realities effortlessly. He can just snap his fingers and appear anywhere, even in the live-action universes, pulling out any villain or character he wants. He could jump into the MCU if the story called for it, because there are no real barriers holding him back. The only limits are the producers and what realities they decide to explore or how they choose to interpret it narratively. narratively. That makes the Spot a huge opportunity for Sony. He's a character that lets them push the boundaries of the multiverse in ways that would otherwise be impossible, and by 2027, MCU itself will be deep into its own multiverse chaos with Spider-Man 4 and the new Avengers. By then, the lines between universes could be completely blurred, and who knows how the Spider-Verse films will tie into all of it. Considering the timeline, we're less than 2 years out from Beyond, and production has been massive, as you can imagine. But the Spot remains central. He's that unpredictable element who could, at any moment, gather villains from the darkest corners of the multiverse and bring them all to Earth 1610. That could set up an epic showdown with every Spider-Man facing off against most terrifying enemies from across the multiverse. Chris Miller even hinted in a recent interview that the third act of Beyond will be on the level of Avengers Endgame. We all know how massive that battle was, a true fight for the fate of the universe. And just like Tony Stark's ultimate sacrifice, we might see a similar moment for Peter, making a heroic choice that could change everything. That's my take. And it's exactly the kind of scale and stakes this trilogy is building toward.